Meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren, herzlich willkommen zu Urban Future Talk. Heute eine weitere internationale Ausgabe. Wir hatten hier bereits zu Gast den ehemaligen deutschen Verteidigungsminister Rudolf Scharping, auch den langjährigen luxemburgischen Außenminister Jean Asselborn und heute hier bei uns Sir Tom Clarke, eine wirkliche Persönlichkeit aus Schottland, jahrzehntelang Mitglied des Parlaments und unter Tony Blair auch Kulturminister. Seien Sie dabei, schauen Sie zu, hören Sie hinein, es lohnt sich. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to another Urban Future Talk. Today it's in English because it's an international talk. Our guest today is a former high politician from Scotland, Sir Tom Clarke. He was for decades member of the parliament and he was also culture minister in Tony Blair's administration. Sir Tom Clarke, warm welcome to Urban Future Talk.
Good to be here.
Thank you so much. Sir Tom, you were not only a federal politician, for example, culture minister in Tony Blair's administration, but also active at the local level. From 1974 to 1982, you served 3 terms as provost of Monklands. The term provost is not known in the German language. Is the translation mayor accurate? And what were your main responsibilities?
Well, in a sense, you are like the mayor. But in the beginning, when the authorities were quite new, they had been brought together in the modern world. And so, in a sense, it was a new beginning. And so, at that stage, the provost was more involved than is the case now in committees like transport and education and housing and so on. And so it was a very good period and a very good learning process.
I see. So this was the beginning of your career.
Yes.
You were a member of the parliament for decades. How would you assess cooperation with cities? Austrian federal politics often shows little understanding for the needs of cities and municipalities. How is it in Scotland?
I think, firstly, I've only been in Austria now for 3-4 days, perhaps, and I'm hugely impressed. I like what happens with transport, integration of transport, and so on. And I think we've got a lot of catching up to do. So, although we have at the moment, and I served in the United Kingdom Parliament, and we set up the devolved assemblies, but the Scottish Assembly has chosen to call itself a parliament, and at times that can be a little confusing. But even with that change, I think there's a need for greater regional input, so that, for example, we're not getting to the point where, albeit with a Scottish nation smaller than the whole of the United Kingdom, nevertheless there's a worry that power is being taken to the top in Edinburgh, whereas we want the regions in every part of Scotland, from the borders with England, some beautiful places there, right up to the Highlands and the islands of Scotland. And we think that there is a call for ensuring that those people, as part of their own communities, are given a better relationship with the rest of the communities and not simply told by Edinburgh that this is the way things should be done.
So do you think there is an important role for the cities in Scotland?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I think we have some wonderful cities, and certainly the capital, Edinburgh, is beautiful, and that wonderful Princes Street, with the castle on the hill, and on the evening when the lights are on, it looks absolutely beautiful. But yet in that city, there are still locations where some people experience great poverty, where many children are very, very poor. And we've got to challenge within those wonderful cities, like Glasgow and Perth and Stirling and Inverness, although to the tourists who will obviously be invited to the most attractive parts, there are nevertheless areas of kind of hidden poverty, which is a challenge to all of us in Scotland.
I see. I was 2 times in your wonderful country and I enjoyed a lot. Sir Tom, while the entire United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland voted about 52% in favour of leaving the European Union, Scotland gave a very different result to remain and only 38% against remaining in the EU. In the Scottish capital Edinburgh, 74.4% voted in favour of the European Union, while in Glasgow, Scotland's largest city, the figure was 67%, so both is very impressive. In Aberdeen, 61.1%. Has Brexit changed life in cities and local government?
Oh yes, it has. But can I say about the figures that they're undoubtedly correct, but we should not underestimate the minority, and it was a minority, of about 1 million people in various parts of Scotland who voted to stay in the European Union, as I did. I am not a great supporter, I'm not a great fan of referenda. In some countries, the plural is referendum. I hope it's referenda here.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a great fan. I think if there are democratic elections to Parliament, and at the moment, members elected to the British Parliament in London from all the nations are being paid quite a high salary. I haven't worked it out in euros, but it's £93,000 a year. I think that's a good salary, and people who elect their Member of Parliament expect their Member of Parliament to be knowledgeable, to tell people what they stand for before they're elected. And then when the time comes for the possibility of re-election, if the people don't like how the member has behaved or the party that he's a member of, they get the chance to vote them out. So I was disappointed that we had a referendum, and I think we had it for purely party political reasons, because the then Prime Minister, Mr Cameron, in order to hold his party together, and the Conservative Party in Britain is quite an elderly party and largely based in the south of England, not really representative of the whole of Great Britain, and to keep them together, including their parliamentary representatives, he had a referendum and he thought he was going to win. I thought it was a great mistake. And I think that parliamentarians should accept their responsibilities.
How are Scottish cities doing economically? In Austria, they are facing major problems, particularly with financing services that are so important for their citizens. What's your opinion about the situation in Scottish cities?
I think there are similarities. In many ways, we haven't, in either of our countries or many of the countries of the world, most of them, recovered from the crisis in which Gordon Brown had to deal with in 2008, 2009. And then we had the problem of COVID spreading all over the world. And then we had another economic crisis. And it wasn't helped in Britain when we had, I think, about 4 prime ministers, one after the other, 4 chancellors. When Mrs. Truss was elected for the Conservatives to be the Prime Minister, she sacked her Chancellor and then her party sacked her. And the economy, we were very, very lucky to emerge with a complete collapse of the British economy. Now, we were dealing with factors that you've mentioned, which are common to your country and to ours. But I'm afraid the result is that the poverty levels are far too high. We've only had a Labour government for little more than a year, and it's already unpopular. And I think perhaps that's because we didn't explain enough that what we were inheriting and the difficulties we faced were far greater than even we realised, and perhaps people were expecting too much too soon. But problems in both of our countries can be seen as the same, compatible.
Finally, you were a guest at the Scotland in Europe event in Vienna. What role should your home country play in this regard?
Firstly, I thought it was an excellent event. And I think that the discussion that we had, as well as private discussions later, because we stayed for about 2 hours afterwards, I think those were wonderful. I think it's an indication that despite the UK taking the decision to withdraw from Europe, which I'm very, very sad about, and the consequences I think have been dreadful, I think we should keep working within Europe. And on this, I'm quite optimistic. And I think and believe that one day we will return to the European Union and the single market. And I think that the more we work together, speak together, enjoy each other's creative industries, film, poetry, stagecraft and all of that, then the better it is for Europe and the greater the chance that we come together again in the way that I think has been very unfortunate.
Sir Tom, thank you so much. It was a great pleasure to have you here. All the best.
An enormous pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for watching this Urban Future Talk.